you think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me.
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
Not another guy in the world that can beat you right now. That's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Bud's been the best man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the best man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Terence Crawford strongly replied to Floyd Mayweather's claim that he could beat him. Crawford stated that he would have beaten Mayweather even at his best, highlighting that he is known for taking on every challenge. He made it clear that no one can say he avoids tough opponents since he always faces anyone willing to fight. Crawford also suggested that he would not back down if a match with Mayweather ever became possible.
And he started going like this, and then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, you know. But one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. You know, I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Dan Raphael has said that Terence Crawford has reached a point in his career where he doesn't need more fights to prove himself. Crawford has already accomplished so much, winning across divisions, unifying titles, and defeating top opponents without showing any decline. Raphael points out that at this stage, it's not about proving anything, but about protecting his legacy and getting the recognition he deserves. Crawford's record has already surpassed what many expected, and chasing unnecessary fights wouldn't add much. His recent dominance in the ring is enough to secure his place among the greats.
What does Terence Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that, maybe that ultimate chance if he goes up again? And do you say, you know, what do you do?
I don't quit. Yeah, I mean, you know, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah,
that's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fans. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he could either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And, you know, he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. You know, for example, you know, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, you know, like fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight of the year.
The way Terence Crawford dominated Canelo Alvarez has sparked intense debate among boxing fans. Many have compared his win to Floyd Mayweather's earlier victory over Canelo. While Mayweather beat a younger, less experienced Canelo, Crawford faced a more seasoned opponent, leading some to argue he might be superior. However, Luke Thomas points out that Crawford's career took off much later than Mayweather's. Mayweather gained fame early, facing top opponents from the start, while Crawford had to wait for recognition and promotion. This means his peak came later. Thomas argues that even if Crawford's win was more impressive, it doesn't automatically place him above Mayweather historically, since timing and career path play a key role in these comparisons.
was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao, because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the turns in there. It's just insane.
Buddy McGirt was one of Crawford's biggest supporters after the Canelo fight, calling it a display of total dominance. McGirt said Crawford controlled the fight from the opening bell, never letting Canelo dictate the pace or use his usual aggressive style. He emphasized that the win was so decisive that a rematch wasn't needed, as the skill gap was clear for everyone to see. McGirt also noted that Crawford has finally secured the legacy he's chased for years by defeating a fighter of Canelo's caliber. This victory gives Crawford a signature win that cements his greatness in the eyes of fans and historians. There's nothing left to prove. Crawford has made his mark, and his triumph over Canelo confirms his place as a boxing legend.
Yes.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is. And you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those gold cards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. He's fought everybody, he's did everything, but you know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When people compare Terence Crawford to Floyd Mayweather, they often highlight Mayweather's mental edge as what set him apart. Crawford is widely recognized for his technical skill, switching stances, adjusting mid-fight, and overpowering opponents with ease. But many argue that Mayweather added another layer, psychological control. He didn't just fight with his body. He got inside his opponents' heads, forcing mistakes and breaking their game plan. This ability to dominate both mentally and physically is seen as the main difference between them. Crawford's talent is undeniable, yet Mayweather's combination of skill and mental mastery is what many historians believe made him exceptional. The comparison shows that Crawford is close to Mayweather's level, while Mayweather's fights still carry a unique psychological depth.
Hagler Hearns. I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
RC.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough. Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. Yeah. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years. But no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And he was arrow spin.
Terence Crawford has been showcasing his talent for nearly 10 years, but his quiet personality and low profile led many in boxing to overlook him. Unlike fighters who thrive on hype and showmanship, Crawford let his skills do the talking in the ring. This approach earned him respect among insiders, but limited his early public recognition. Only after big wins against Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez is the wider audience starting to take notice. Critics argue that this recognition has come late, as Crawford is already deep into his career. While he can still add to his achievements, the chance to build a lasting mainstream legacy is shrinking, leaving some to wonder how much greater his reputation might have been with earlier attention.
He was. Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras.
Floyd Mayweather has often faced criticism for refusing to give credit to other great fighters, frequently rejecting the idea that Muhammad Ali, widely seen as the greatest ever, ranks above him. With Terence Crawford achieving feats similar to Mayweather's, questions about Floyd's ego have resurfaced. Crawford's impressive win over Canelo has sparked debates that could place him in the same historical conversation as Mayweather. For someone so protective of his legacy, this is hard to accept. Critics argue that Floyd thrives on being viewed as the ultimate standard in boxing, and when another fighter starts to challenge that status, it hits his pride. This sense of rivalry and jealousy seems to shape how he reacts publicly to Crawford's rise.
Par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter. Right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in I believe this is going to be an exhibition.
Sean Porter spoke with Terence Crawford about what pushed him to take on challenges others thought were beyond him. Crawford explained that for years, people doubted his ability to compete at the top. Rather than shy away from the pressure, he embraced it, using it as motivation to prove them wrong. His wins over Spence and Canelo aren't just career highlights. They're personal triumphs that put years of doubt and skepticism to rest.
You want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry. I know this is bad production, but we don't need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Happy right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant. Go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man. We know, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, but I want to be great. Where'd that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top and then conquer.
Porter highlighted Crawford's drive to face challenges directly, showing his unique approach to fighting. Instead of choosing easier paths, Crawford went after the toughest opponents, determined to prove he belonged at the top. This mindset has placed him in the conversation of all-time greats, making his legacy defined not just by skill, but also by his persistence and grit.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best fit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd, then I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is what I seen. I seen Bud. I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stamped your legacy and we're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person, you could beat that person? You feel like you did it?
Of course, it's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books.
Yeah.
Like before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that, but hold on. Yeah.
I know, good job.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proving himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey man, how do you allow people not to put their limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told them about like how you motivated me to start my own company. And come out, I remember you been in my living in my kitchen, motivated me to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on you?
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.